Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we got another interesting podcast about human nature. I want to talk about that book, The Laws of Human Nature, but by Robert Greene. So, imagine this like a scene, not like a lecture. You sitting there, maybe late at night, like replaying something that went wrong, a deal failed, a relationship cracked, or just something didn't go the way you picture. And your brain instantly starts doing what it always does, building a story. Someone screwed me over, the system is rigged, I just had bad luck. Feels convincing, right? Almost comforting. Because in all those versions, you're not really at fault. But here's another twist that, and this is where it gets interesting. Most of the time, the real reason is not out there. It's in here. Not in some obvious way like you messed up. It's deeper. It is the quiet stuff, your emotions running the show without asking them for permission. The problem is we don't see it. It's like trying to see your own blind spot in a mirror. Take something big like a 2008 financial crash. Yeah, take something, that kind of financial crash. Everyone blames something external, greedy bankers, bad regulations, complex systems. All true, but partially. But millions of people were involved, every single day they made decisions, and they all failed the same thing. This is easy money. I don't want to miss out that feeling, that pull. That's the real engine. It is the same thing when you see everyone around you winning and you jump in without thinking. And not because it makes sense, but because it feels unbearable to stay out. And that's the pattern. It repeats not just like in markets, but in your life. Same mistakes, different situations. Why? Because instead of looking inward, we keep pointing outward. Now, here's where it gets even more fascinating. Your brain is literally built this way. You got this ancient system inside you that reacts first and thinks later. Emotions hit you like a chemical wave, fast, automatic, powerful. Thinking, that's slower. That's why it's way easier to that's why we much faster responding to the snake, like instant reaction. But when it comes to some like a math problem, it definitely takes longer time, isn't it? So what happens? You feel something and then you invent a story to explain it. You think you're angry at someone, but maybe it's envy. You snap at someone, but really you were already stressed. You distrust someone, but they just remind you of someone from your past. In other words, most of the time we think that we're thinking, but in reality we justifying logically our emotions. In other words, first it's emotional response, and after, if you're not gonna objectively assess it, logic shows up and start to justify that emotions, even though they could be wrong. And you're not reacting to reality, you're reacting to a mix of of the present and your hidden emotional history. And here's a scary part, you don't even realize it. That's why people repeat the same relationship patterns, same arguments, same failures. It's like running the same script over and over, just with different actors. In other words, most of the time people acting like on autopilot instead of like a self-reflection, try to fix their like a previous shit. It's like a constant confirmation bias. Now, if you zoom out or start noticing something else, people fall into predictable mental traps like confirmation bias. I told you, you don't look for truth, you look for proof that you're right. And when people see that they're wrong, they start to act like a fucking blind person. Oh my god, I don't see the facts. Because facts, especially when they show that you're wrong, and people don't want to admit that they're wrong, it's better for them in order to save their pussy brain, to ignore it and live in their own reality. Or this one, superiority bias. Everyone secretly thinks they're most rational than others, which is ironic because that belief itself is irrational. Because, first of all, if you think that you're rational, how you could possibly be like objectively more rational if you didn't test it? And it's almost like the mind is designed to protect your ego first and truth comes second. And then there's a dangerous level when emotions go from like a quiet background noise to full like a takeover mode. You know that taste. When something triggers you and suddenly everything becomes about that feeling, like anger, jealousy, excitement, doesn't matter. Your thinking narrows. You stop seeing clearly. You're just reacting instead of like calmly assessing situation and try to see another answers, explanations, and just like blindly following the first reaction. Sometimes it is triggered by something small, but it hits something old. A childhood wound, a fear of rejection, a need for approval, and boom, you're not reacting to the moment anymore. You're reacting to something years old. That's why people overreact in ways that don't match the situation. It's not about now, it's about then. There's also another trap: sudden success or sudden failure. Win big and you start feeling invincible. You chase that high again and usually crash. Lose repeatedly and you start thinking you're cursed. You hesitate, you overthink. And ironically, you make it worse. And pressure, that's the real test. Put anyone under stress and their rational self starts slipping. The mask drops. You see the real patterns, even more dangerous. Certain people can trigger intense emotions in you. Charismatic types, the ones you either admire too much or hate too much. And if someone makes you feel extreme emotions, that's already a warning sign. Because in that state, you are not thinking clearly anymore. You get provoked, you're not rational, you're emotional. And therefore your actions are not rational. You can do like stupid shit. So what's the actual move here? Not to kill emotion, that's impossible. The real skill is about awareness. Rational people are not emotionless. They just catch themselves. In other words, they got self-control. They still have this angerness and other emotions, but they able to notice and like objectively, rationally assess it to follow it or not. They notice the feeling before it turns into action. they pause, they question, why do I feel this? Is this the real about now or something deeper? And that tiny gap between feeling and reaction, that's where control lives. Okay, let me repeat this again because it's very important. That tiny gap between feeling and reaction, in other words, the moment you got some like X emotion in your brain and action, that's where control lives. Some sort of like, let's call it like a middleman. And honestly, that's the whole game, because once you start seeing your own patterns, your own biases, your own emotional triggers, things change. Because after that, you stop having this kind of like a tunnel vision, and you can zoom out to look, in order to look this at this like a map of emotions, let's call it, and gets to decide, like, is it stupid or not? You're gonna do this or not? You stop repeating the same mistakes. You stop blaming everything outside. You start making decisions that actually work long term. And it's not the same like some perfect transformation. You will still mess up, but now at least you will see it happening. And that alone puts you way ahead of most people. Thank you for listening. Smash the like button, subscribe button, and see you guys next time.